Greetings, this is Dr. Douglas Maurer from iMedical Apps with another medical app review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new app from the American Heart Association. This app is called AHA Guidelines on the Go. The purpose of this app is to provide providers and even patients with information on the AHA guidelines. As you can see when you open the app, there isn't a whole lot here. I'm pretty disappointed with this app. The only guideline currently in this app is the management of patients with non-ST segment elevation ACS. Still potentially useful, right? Well, then you start looking at how the guideline itself is put into the app, and the user interface is not ideal. So you come up with a relatively large table of contents. So it's not that big of a deal. Click on a subsection, and then instead of seeing the subsection, you then have to click on these funny little dots up here to find the subsection, which opens another subsection to get to where you want to go. It's in tables and whatnot, you have to leave the app to get to. It's kind of a disaster when it comes to how this guideline is implemented within the app itself. You'd be much better off using the American College of Cardiology Guidelines app, which has the exact same guideline in a much more user-friendly format. Now, what else is in this app? Well, as you can see from a guideline standpoint, not much. Come over here to the table of contents, though, and you can see a couple other areas. You can search. There's news. The problem is the news, again, jumps out to the AHA website, which isn't even optimized really for mobile. You have some calculators. Nice idea. Unfortunately, there's only 3 of them. And interestingly, instead of using the pooled equations calculator, which part of the AHA ACC cholesterol guidelines recommends, they're using the older Framingham guideline, or Framingham calculator, which isn't a bad calculator. It's just odd, I think, that this is the one that they include in the app. Timmy and Grace as well, but there's a million other calculators potentially that could be here. Patient education is probably the best section of the app. We'll come back to that in a minute. There's also some continuing education material, which is nice that it's here, but again, requires you to link out to the AHA Lifelong Learning Center. Coming to patient education, as I said, the best part of the app, but it's only one area of patient material, and that's on heart attacks. Very basic information here. Has this goofy interface again, which takes you to using the little dots. But the tools and resources, has some useful information. Unfortunately, they all link outside, but these are nice PDFs that you can open, send, email, print, etc. But unfortunately, none of them are within the app itself. You have to leave the app to get to them. But they are high quality PDFs. So, things I liked about the app. It does come from an authoritative and respected source, the American Heart Association. The links to the guidelines, or rather to the patient handouts as I showed you here, also they're in Spanish. Nice touch. It does have a lot of potential in the sense of an area for guidelines, area for calculators, area for patient education. It just bombs out on the lack of material. It's also available for Android, which is nice to see for an app for a change. Dislikes, I think I've been pretty obvious with them, but there's only one guideline in an app called Guidelines on the Go. They should rename it Guideline on the Go because that's all that's here. Much of the information, such as news, continuing education material, the handouts all require an internet connection to be used. The guideline that is here, as I showed, was difficult to navigate from this just strange user interface that's built into it. There's just limited content in general. I really cannot recommend this app in its current state. Hopefully they will add all of the wonderful guidelines the American Heart Association does have at its fingertips and put them in the app in a hurry.